Hello there. Hello, everyone. A rainy day up here in the Northeast. Welcome to Reddit Real Estate Disasters. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jackie.
What's up?
If April flowers bring May showers, what do May showers bring?
It better bring a nice freaking summer because I'm sick of this weather.
Mold.
No mold. I want nice weather. Get out of here with your mold.
That's what May showers bring. Mold.
No, I need
Mold
nice
and mildew and ugh.
It's gross. It's gross. I can't stand it. It's been raining I feel like it's been raining every day since like March.
It's so glum right now. It's so glum. It's overcast. It's pouring. I do like rainy days to a certain degree. Like there is something like cozy. You put a sweater on or whatever and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, you go out in the yard. I'll tell you from last year, I had so much moss in my yard this spring.
Oh, yeah.
Just as there's so much rain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh my goodness. I'm just, I'm like, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on. I feel like a frog. No.
You're not a frog, Jen.
Ribbit.
You just need some sunshine. That's it.
I do. I did play golf yesterday, though.
You did?
Yeah, I did with my ladies leagues, the little ladies I play with, like my dad's age, and they're so funny, and we have so much fun. We only play 9 holes during, yesterday was the first day of the league start for the spring, and I just don't even care how well I played. It's all about the laughs. Like literally, like people are like, "Oh my gosh, you were laughing so hard." I'm like, and
awesome. That's what you should be doing. Come on, this isn't like the PGA Tour, You're there to have fun.
I did shoot par.
Go good
on 1 hole. But it was good. It was good to like get out of the house, away from the desk, and just like get some exercise. And I mean, we take carts and stuff, but still it's like exercise, fresh air, and now like, my shoulders are sore and all the things because my body's like, wait a minute. What are those muscles that you're using that you haven't used in months?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Your body's yelling at you now. So
have you ever played golf?
No.
I
tried it years ago when Steve and I think we were dating. He took me to a driving range and tried to teach me. Yeah. No.
There's something about having a metal rod in your hand and whacking a ball as hard as you can. It's just, I'm telling you.
There's
something about it that just is like, and then you lose it and you pick up another one and hit it again.
I can't do that. I just can't. It's not my thing.
Oh, it's frustrating as heck.
Yeah, it would drive me nuts. Like, really?
It is. I tell you though, it's like, it's almost like, I don't know. It's a weird kind of drug because it's like, you fail. You're like, I can't stand it. I can't do it. And then one time you hit the ball well and you're like, oh my God, I love this game. I'm good at this game. I'm going to go pro. I could play this game every day. I could do this all day long. I'm awesome. And then the next shot, it's total crap.
Yeah.
For like another 50 shots or another 2 months or 3. Like, it's just awful. You get that one hook. It gets you like pulls you back in.
Yep. So no, thank you. No, thank you. Just because of the up and down, the emotional roller coaster of that, like, no.
This is why you got to laugh. This is the thing. I will play with golf with people that want to have a good time because let me tell you something. You can't. I hit the ball at one hole and the freaking thing went sideways.
Really?
No joke. I'm like, what the hell? And my friend Barbara, she's like, just take another one and hit it. I'm like, okay. This never happened. This is a figment of your imagination.
It's nice
that of your imagination.
It's nice you have friends that'll like let you have a pass.
100%.
Several passes.
But so you got some once again, Now, once again, the human race has not let us down with just a bonkers, crazy, out of their mind stuff going on, and these same people post their stories on Reddit.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
so
and we're grateful for the content, let me tell you.
yes, thank you. Thank
The
you for all those
thank
crazies out there.
yeah, thank you for everybody who well, no, I mean, it's probably not
I
nice
know.
to say, but no,
True,
I
true,
just
true, true, true.
again,
I read what do you call it? I redact?
you redact that statement?
I redact that statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But seriously, I said this last week, I feel like more and more stories are popping up on Reddit, like daily real estate related stuff. It's like, where do all these people come from? And like, it just, with the low inventory, it's like, how are people buying all these houses and having these problems? Right? It's
Maybe it's
crazy.
cheaper than a therapist.
Yeah, it
Maybe.
is.
You know what I'm
It is.
saying? You just
Reddit, I will say that for sure. It is cheaper than a therapist because you get like the best answers too. People are just their responses like, "Oh, oh, that was good. That was a good one. I didn't think about that," you know?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
so the first one that I found. Now, it's not so much of a crazy story or like a nightmare story. Kind of a sad story because this has to deal with buyer's remorse, and the reason I picked it, it kinda, like, resonated with me a little bit,
Okay.
and, I'm like, "You know what? Let's start off with this one," because I think when people are buying homes, they're fearful of the unknown, what's gonna happen once I own this house. So, I wanted to share this and share, like, some of the responses too, because I thought they were good. This is what I
Okay.
love about Reddit, right? Okay. So, the title of this one is Buyer's Remorse and Depression First-Time Homebuyer. So, you can see where this is going.
Got it.
All right. We bought our first house and moved in a few weeks ago, about a month ago. Ever since that, we are depressed. There are too many things we missed and noticing now. Number one, there is too much freeway noise in the backyard, even though the house is 1 mile away from the freeway. When we had initially toured the house, the noise was not that prevalent. We think it might just be the weather conditions that day. Even inside the house with double pane windows, we can hear the faint noise, which is driving me up the wall. We did not bid on a lot of houses because they had noise. Houses which were much nicer than the current house. Because the house was so far away from the freeway, we thought it wouldn't be a problem. There is a busy street zero point 0.3 miles away from our house, but the noise that is coming from the freeway, that's 1 mile away. Number two, there was a giant electric pole in the backyard, which we did notice, but did not think that would be a big deal, but it's annoying as hell now. Number three, the floor plan of the house is not great at all. The living space is very cramped and makes us regret every day when we step out. Number four, there is no HVAC in the house, and all plumbing in the house needs to be replaced as it's all galvanized steel, 60 plus years old. All this has to be replaced soon. We are in an we are in a I can't talk. We are in an incredibly competitive market with people putting all cash offers or majority cash offers. So we felt some of the things we could live with, but realizing now that we cannot. We feel like we cannot enjoy the backyard at all. And inside the house, the floor plan is not good and small. How does one cope with this situation? We feel like we should sell the house and move on, but it will easily be $100,000 hit as realtor fees, listing fees. Even if we sell it at the same price, we have even if we sell it at the same price, we'll have to be paid out. Feeling intense remorse and
Mm.
depressed with the whole situation as we simply cannot solve the problem, especially the noise floor plan. If we drop enough money, we can solve, but we're not even sure we'll be here for 10 years to be worth it. Now,
Mm.
so okay. Then wasn't I just telling you about my buyers I'm taking out
Yep.
tomorrow,
Yep.
right? This house is near a highway. They want to go see it. They want to see how the sound situation is. And I already know what the answer is going to be. So when I see things like this, I'm reading this story, it did resonate with me because the house we bought that I'm in now it wasn't a crazy buyer's market. We had time to look at it multiple times. I can't tell you how stressed out I was about buying this house because oh my God, I overthought everything. I'm like, is the family room too small?
Yep.
Is the garage too small? All of that stuff, right?
Yep.
But once we were in the house and you're living there and you're in it, then you're like, okay, things start to come together, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm not crazy about this living room. I don't like my kitchen. We can make some minor changes. We'll live with it, but it takes time to get used to it. And what these people I feel like need to do, you know, I think do what I did. You got to live in the house for a while. You can't
Yep.
just make any rash decisions. You can't go turn around and put the for sale sign back up in front of the house and say I'm out of here.
Right.
Um, but a lot of
Well, you
people,
can, but it comes at a price.
well, exactly like they said, it's going to cost them probably about another $100,000, and they're going to lose.
Why
They're
would
going
it
to lose
cost them
money.
$100,000?
Well, they're just saying, between all the cost and all the things, that's what they're saying.
The real estate, I mean, how much I mean, yes, it costs if they hire a real estate agent, yes, it costs them money to hire a real estate agent, but it's not gonna cost
Well,
$100,000 unless the house is like a multi-million dollar
well,
house,
that's yeah.
like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, maybe that might be embellished a little bit because the way properties are depending on where they're at, the
Mhm,
way properties are appreciating, they
mhm,
may not have to wait that long before their house appreciates, to a point where they can at least break even. Now, we don't know what
mhm.
their closing costs were when they bought the house. So I guess you kind of factor that in too, right? You factor
Right.
in the closing costs for
Yeah.
the purchase plus the real estate costs and closing costs on the sale.
Yep.
But the way things are going now, and it looks like, I mean, gosh, this the way things are going now with the state of affairs, there's no indication, again, unless they're in Texas or Florida, right?
Mm.
Um, that they're going to lose their shirt.
No.
I mean, if they really wanted to, you just kind of, you stick it out until that point where you're at that break even and get out of Dodge. But I don't think that's
I don't think that's a smart move, and you gotta think
no,
the moving costs too, right? That's several thousand
that's true.
dollars.
That's
That's
true.
they're
That's true.
probably tacking that in there too,
Yep.
but so here's the thing, the comments, the responses here, I was just like, "Wow," people there's nice people here on Reddit, not saying there's
Imagine
always
that.
mean people, but no, but the responses were like, some guy, person commented, they had the same situation. They said, "I cried my first week living in the city because it was so noisy, but a month in, I didn't even notice it anymore." Um,
Mm.
somebody else wrote, "I grew up next to a volunteer unmanned fire station that blew the house siren for every call. It was about 100 yards from the bedroom on the same level. After a bit, no longer woke me up." People were just, somebody wrote here, "Yeah, my first condo was on a noisy commuter route. You get used to it pretty fast." People are just supporting, like, you know what? Like, don't jump the gun, you gotta live in that's my point here too. You gotta live in it for a while. You think, you're like,
Well,
"God, what did we do?" But in this market, people are in a hurry, like, let's get it,
yeah.
buy it, be done with it.
I
I
mean, if you look at it from the aspect of like, okay, so if she is a nervous person, an
Mhm.
anxious person,
Right.
okay, we don't know what, in terms of like, I mean, me personally, I tend to get anxious about things. Sometimes I'll be like, I'll double back and go, "Oh my gosh, did I do the right thing?" And I'll
No,
question what
no.
I did. But
You
the
should.
thing is I know about myself. So
Mhm.
I kind of give myself like a timeout and just be like, "Okay, hold on." And maybe she's that way.
Yep.
Maybe she's been just reading too many news articles and that's put her in a spiral.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe she's in a spiral where because the question I would have is like, okay, so these are all the things that you're having your remorse about. Like, there's got to be a reason why you bought the house in the first place.
Yes.
What are
There
those reasons? And
yep.
sometimes when you're in a spiral, the reasons, all those negative reasons, all those negative, all the cons surface to the top and completely trample all the positive reasons, all the reasons why you made that decision in the first place.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that point up because in my situation when we bought this house, we came back and looked at this. I'm not kidding you. It had to be like 5 or 6 different times because they were just like, I don't know, I don't know. So we dragged my sister-in-law one time with us, and she made such a valid point that like it hit me so hard. We were because I'm like, I don't know, Mary, look at this. The kitchen's kind of small. She goes, yeah. And I showed her, it's like, oh, look, all this wallpaper. We got to take all this down. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And then, I'm like, I don't know. Do you think this family room is big enough? And like the garage, like all these stupid things I was
Yep.
nitpicking at. And she said exactly this. She goes, this may not be the perfect house. This is what you wanted. She goes, but what are you gaining moving here? You're gaining a good neighborhood, a good school system, a great town. That's why you're moving.
That's
And
why
I
you're
was
moving.
like, oh,
I forgot about that. And that's the thing is like sometimes the thing that gets that's the loudest, right? The thing that's
yeah.
making the loudest, noise in your
Yep.
head is the thing that gets the most attention.
Yeah.
And if she's in a place or her and her partner are in a place where they're, maybe they work with somebody that is also having issues and they're like, "Oh my God, me
Mhm.
too." And oh my God, that happened to us too. Like all these, do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It can snowball super fast. And I mean, not to say that these are all, I mean, all these things very well could be valid points, but and let's be honest, like during the pandemic, people moved, and I hated that. I hated that about that period of time is because people didn't have a chance to breathe. They saw a
Yep.
house and they had to make a decision, or they were going to lose out.
Mhm.
And before you got to that point, I mean, when I was working with my buyers anyways, I mean, I would try to really understand exactly what the most important things were before we even stepped a foot in a house so that we were prepared to move quickly. But then the other thing is when they were like, "Oh yeah, this is the one," like I basically said, "Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Why do
Mhm.
you want this house? What about this? What about that? What about that?" I mean, I had a couple times when people were my my buyers are like, "Geez, Jen, I feel like you're trying to talk us out." I'm like, out of it." I'm like, "No, I'm not trying to talk you out of it. I'm just trying to make sure that you are making the right decision for you." And
Yes.
without and because when you're in the heat of the moment, it's and that's this is not an advertisement for real estate agents, but I mean, a good agent has no emotional gain. Like they're not affected by this emotionally, whether you buy it or
Right.
not. Like they have a house to go to.
Right.
So, but the buyer and the home seller, like this is going to be their home or it is their home. It is impossible to separate emotion out of
Mhm.
the equation.
Right.
And if you lead with that, if you make all your big financial decisions with just emotion, that can be a dangerous thing. So it's like, well, how do you do that? Well, then you lean on somebody that's not emotionally involved,
Mhm.
aka your agent. So
Right.
I'm there as the pragmatic, like I mean, I'm there to try to get them from point A to point B and fulfill their dreams and all the things. But whether they buy house A, house B, house C, it doesn't make a difference to me. I
Right.
have no doesn't, I have no nothing to gain by any of those. So I don't have a problem with saying, "Hey, are you really okay with that thing in the backyard?" And if
Mhm.
they say, "You know what, Jen, we're not crazy about it, but the overall location is exactly what we want.
Right.
The school system is what we really want." Whatever.
Right. Yes.
Then
That's the truth.
that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, and those are the types of things that it's like, maybe if that did happen, maybe that she just needs to get back to that place,
Yes.
you know?
Good advice, Jen.
Hey, I have sometimes.
And this is why you and I get along. We share a brain because we think exactly the same way?
You are the smart one, and I'm just the dumb. I'm the silly one. I'm the silly half.
Stop.
You're the brains. You're the real brains.
Stop.
Just saying.
But no, knock it off.
No, I think yeah, that's a sad one.
I know. Well, for a rainy day, I
Sad
thought we'd start with
one.
a little sad one.
Jackie. Jeepers creepers.
All right. Do you want to move on to some nightmares? I'll bring some
What? I
nightmares.
need to be revitalized with some nightmares because I'm like, "Oh my God, it's raining," and now I'm ready to get a box of tissues. I feel like a Kleenex commercial right now. Honest to God, Jackie.
Well, I'm hoping that'll bring some, hope to people who are in that situation, like,
Amen. No,
this
it's
is
true, and
right.
as silly as we are, like, whatever, having
Yep.
these conversations, like, you're right. I mean, you hope that somebody's listening to this and be like, "Oh, I was freaking out.
Oh my
Freaking
god.
Jen wrote in and saved the day."
See, that's what we're here. We're saving one deal, one buyer at a
One
time. That's
one
our
one Reddit by one Reddit story at a
by one
time.
Reddit story. Yeah, that's telling you. That's our job. All right.
Amen.
Moving on to a nightmare. Speaking of rain, this has to do with water getting in the basement.
This is like, hey, this is
There's a theme
there's a
with
theme.
all right. Home buying nightmare. You ready, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. Bought a home where the seller disclosed having water in the basement for the very first time from an extreme weather event just this year. Wife and I interpreted this as a known event to us where we had 5+ inches of rain in a very short period of time. Had an inspection done where some siding issues came up, but everything else looked great with no signs of water in the basement. Less than 2 weeks after closing on the home, we had an inch of rainfall where water started coming in the basement slowly, followed by a break for a few hours and then an additional 2 inches overnight. Woke up to over a foot of water in the basement where water flowed into our water heater and furnace, where both have confirmed to be junk now. From speaking to the owner, they put in a DIY dry well right next to the home with no access point, and the lowest drain feeding into this dry well started backing out into a low lying drain right next to
Ooh.
the basement, which we presume started the issue where water seeped into the basement from where the basement walls meet the floor. Then
Oh.
got high enough that it started pouring into a doorway with a 1 foot lip above the drain. We got our hands on a pump, but water continued to pour in from both the basement, and no matter how much we pumped out, the drain outside water would fill back up within 5 to 10 minutes. Here we are more than 72 hours after the rain stopped, and while the water level from the problem drain is dropping, it still fills up with a few inches of water, and our basement also fills in with about an inch of water itself. The last few days, we put the pump inside this drain, and it greatly slows down water getting into the basement. Already have a quote for $16,000
Oh.
to put a new combined hot water and boiler system, and a contractor coming today to look at the drainage issue. But I assume we need a drain slash French drain, a drain tile slash French drain, and to dig up the dry well they put in. We live in a state where it is up to the buyer to find issues with the home, but we feel the disclosure was misleading, saying he had water that just at one time, and did not go into detail that water continued to come in for about a week, according to the neighbor next door. They had to know the dry well they put in failed or is not draining from being clogged. Do we have a case at all? Are we on the hook for the siding issues we initially found, and now $40,000 ish to address water issues and have a new boiler?
Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So
This
here's my question.
Yes.
If water only came in, and this is what I would be thinking if I was on the buying side,
Mhm.
right? And the seller told me this. If water only came in that one time,
Right.
why would you do a dry well? Why would you go through the trouble if it was a one-time event? People don't put in dry wells if there's a one-time event. If it's never happened
Yeah.
before and it doesn't have a history of it, you don't go through the expense and the exercise of doing something. It's
Exactly.
that's like, oh, I can't even think of an example, but, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that seems
Yeah.
extreme and
That's
suspicious.
it is. It is suspicious. I'm just trying to go back and look again to see if that part was disclosed. The dry well. Did I say it was? I'm losing my mind here. Anyway,
And and
um,
and then if it's a DIY dry
it was
well,
a DIY. Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
would be I would be like, I don't know about that." Like,
So
I don't think that to me would be, very comforting. I think I would, if I were to buy that house, I would say like, okay, like have at least talk to somebody to be like, okay, so there's this deal, like, is this adequate? And
Yeah.
is this, or am I going to need to address this? Assuming that it's necessary to have in the basement.
Okay, but it goes back to, where was the inspector? Did the home
100%.
Where was the home
So
inspector?
that's the thing
Why
is
didn't
that
they find that and question it?
110%. You know, here's the other thing. Um, are home inspectors required to be licensed in New Jersey? Just curious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. So they
absolutely.
are in Massachusetts as well.
Yep.
And I don't know how many states offhand our home inspectors are required to be licensed,
Hmm.
you know? So that's the question. It's like the quality of the home inspector comes in play here
Yep.
because I mean, like I had a home inspection on a property. I'm representing the seller, and you know, the seller had houses built in the early 70s, original panel, 100 amp. Previous owners had renovated the kitchen, and instead of well, there really was no room to add on any breakers on the old 100 amp system. So instead of replacing the panel, they just added a sub panel in the boiler room, which is totally
Mhm.
fine, right? But the panel, the original panel, still is intact. Well, the homeowner never opened up the panel, like took off the cover and all the things. So when the home inspector came through and took the panel cover off
Mhm.
and saw rust and like, oh, this is not good, and then they got the report and all that kind of stuff, like the buyer did their due diligence and they
Right.
called an electrician because the inspector inspected it, took notes, took pictures. So then the buyer took that information, went to the electrician didn't even have to come in the property and said, hey, this is what we see. This is what we notice. This is what we recommend and all the things. And we negotiated. And my sellers are like, yeah, we're not comfortable selling it to someone in that condition,
Mhm.
work out a credit, you know?
Good.
But the thing is like the inspector did a good job with alerting the buyer to be like, you need to have a professional check this out.
Yeah.
And the buyer checked it out. So now that buyer is buying that house with an older panel, but they're completely aware of
Yes.
that they're going to need to replace it, right?
Yep.
Before God forbid something were to happen, right?
Right.
Um, if a DIY dry well is never acceptable.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, it just isn't. Like, you know, so that's
That's a big but that's just, to me, if it's a big mark on the home inspector for
so
not
okay.
bringing that, because I'm thinking about my inspector that I recommend him. My people use him quite a bit. The guy was supposed to be, he became a home inspector, but prior to that, he was gonna become like a building inspector for a town. So the guy
Yep.
knows codes, like, building codes, zoning, all the things. And he would have found that dry well. I'm just reading this, I'm like, "Oh my god, Todd would have found that dry well, and he would have told my people to walk away."
Yep.
He would have.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's done it before, and he's like, "No, I would if this is me, I wouldn't buy this house." And that's the type of inspector you want, you know?
Or at least be realistic in the sense that, I mean, I think it has to be pretty severe to say don't buy the house.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. It
I
does.
think
Yeah.
it's more like, okay, so this is what's going to cost you, because you
Right.
never know what a buyer is willing to pay. What kind of like going back to the other story, like what's it worth to that buyer?
Right.
What's it worth to that buyer? That buyer really wants to be in that neighborhood. It may be worth them taking on the responsibility of a $20,000 plus,
Right.
you know, French drain system installation.
Right.
So it doesn't mean turn tail and run, but at least they'll be, eyes wide open. But here's the other thing, Jackie,
Tell
because
me.
we have basements in our part of the country.
Yep.
So I'm, very familiar. And being that we're in an older part of the country, like, we have poured concrete, we have cinder block, we have
Mhm.
fieldstone, we have all the different types that react differently to water. And when you have water seepage, Jackie, like this, if you have any kind, whether it be through a crack coming up, or and if you get high levels from storms or whatever, that leaves evidence.
Yes, it
If
does.
it's concrete, have you ever seen that white powdery stuff? It's called
Mhm.
efflorescence,
Uh-huh.
and that's what it leaves. It leaves efflorescence. So like when I walk through a house with a buyer, and I'm like, I'm not a home inspector. I am not a home inspector,
Yeah.
but I've been doing this so long, like,
Right, you know what you see, you're right,
I
you
see
know
what
what
yeah,
you're
I'm like,
looking
I've
for.
seen this before, and it's like 9 times out of 10, right? Like, if a basement has had water in the past, you gotta look for there's gotta be evidence. There's
Yep.
always evidence of something. Now, if it's a one-time thing, maybe not, maybe, but the thing is, there's either efflorescence. Another thing would be like, is the hot water heater or the furnace, if they're up on cinder blocks, if the washer dryer's in the basement and that's on cinder blocks,
Red flag.
red flag, because that means
Yep.
you get water in the basement on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
right. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
it's like, I think a good home inspector would know that. A
No,
good
they
home
would, they
inspector
definitely
should know
would,
that.
so I don't, either these people waive their inspections, dopes if they did, no offense,
Well, they didn't, because they said they did have it and they had some
well,
siding
they
issue.
did, but well, yeah, they did, then their home inspector was not good.
No,
Sorry. Just not
no.
not a good guy.
No, and I think that, I think if they're gonna go back and, you know, if they're gonna go after anybody, they gotta go after the home inspector,
I totally would.
because the
I would.
seller is not gonna be, I mean, proving the seller's liable for non-disclosure, because if it's in an email somewhere that the seller said there's been water in the basement,
Mhm.
they don't have a chance. And what do you think? I don't think they have a
I
chance.
don't think they have a chance either, but, I mean, if it was now it's saying bought a home, the seller disclosed having water in the basement for the very first time for an extreme weather event just this year. Now, they could have put it in the seller's disclosure,
If
right?
they have one, if their state does one.
If they had one, or he could have verbally told them, "Yeah, we had water once, that big storm that came through a few
Yep.
months back." It could have been that situation, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they have a case. I don't know,
I don't think so.
because
I think so. I think
he disclosed it. So, yeah,
I don't
sorry.
I think it's,
That's a tough one.
sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy.
You're out.
Start saving some money.
You're out your 40K. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's what you're buying yourself for Christmas for the next 10 years.
Yep.
Mwah.
Yes.
Yep. New hot water system and whatever not, whatever he
Mhm.
said. New hot water system for 16,000? Okay.
Well, it might be a big hot water system, you know?
Yes. It's a lot of money.
I don't know, Jen. The sellers these days, like, I don't know, you gotta be more forthcoming. Just saying. Just saying. I don't know.
No,
Because
sellers always tell the truth.
well, yeah, but the thing is,
Things are fair.
like you're
I mean,
saying that dry well he put in, obviously it could have been, it was worse than that. It was a persistent problem. And even the neighbors said that the guy had a lot of water, right? The neighbors
yeah,
ratted him out,
that's fishy. That's
right?
that's fishy. So what, do you get like his buddies over on a weekend? Be like, "Yo, dude, I'll give you a six pack. You come over and help me put in a dry well. Sure, you got pizza and beer? Yeah, I got pizza and beer.
Yeah.
Sure, let's go."
Pizza and beer solves everything.
Pizza and beer does solve everything.
It solves
The
everything.
cheapest way to get your friends when we were young, right? You probably remember this. When you were young, the cheapest way to get movers,
Yeah.
pizza and beer.
Our
Home.
first house that we bought, we recruited our friends over for like, it was like 3 weekends in a row to help paint the house, and we just fed them, pizza and beer. So,
I want pizza. You know what?
you
What
want pizza
happened to
and beer
those
now?
days? What happened to those days?
It
Our friends won't do that for pizza and beer
no.
anymore.
No, they
They're
wouldn't.
like, "Yeah, no.
They'd be like, "Yeah, no.
Yeah, no."
No, thank you. No, we're too old for this."
Oh, we're too old for that.
Right. We are too old for that, Jen.
Wah,
Anyway,
wah.
wah, wah. We wanna hear another nightmare?
Yeah,
This
of
this one
course.
this one is taking place in my neck of the woods, right here in the great state of New Jersey.
Ooh,
You ready? This is
let's
fun.
go.
All right. Buying a house in New Jersey. House was not disclosed as a foreclosure until we got under contract.
Oh my.
Welcome to Jersey. Okay. Come to find out, the house was sold this Tuesday via sheriff's auction. Seller's lawyer states the seller is seeking redemption in court this week, and apparently there is a 10-day redemption law to get the house back so he can sell it to me. This was Thursday. Decided to pass by the home this Saturday, and I see the owners who bought the home at auction ripping up the roof. Has anyone been through this? Can I actually still buy this house? I feel so bad as my wife was really excited, and we already had contractors come in to give us quotes and everything. Okay. Talk about giving Jersey even worse name right now.
Seriously.
Like,
Honest to
what
God,
in the
Jackie.
hell, right? So, first of all,
this is low-hanging fruit, honestly.
it is okay.
This is like so low-hanging fruit.
I'm like, where in Jersey is this? Because I want to shake the real estate agent. Like, how?
I'm sure you want to do more than shake.
Oh, yeah.
What about your Sicilian, like a Tony Soprano, and
the whole Sicilian?
Like, listen, buddy,
like,
listen.
It's so easy.
They know how we do things around here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen.
Cheapers.
It's so easy to find out if a house is in Liz Pendon's. Hello.
So easy.
Tax records. What?
All you have to do is, okay. So I'm going to tell you something, right? I'm sure your people do this too. So my sellers and buyers do the same thing. When I either submit an offer for a buyer, or receive an offer for a seller, right? By the time I sit down, on the selling side, by the time I sit down and vet the offer, so I get the offer in, I do my due diligence and I forward the offer to the seller, but I tell the seller, hey, listen, this is the offer. I'm giving it to you because that's my responsibility. But don't fret. We're going to go over everything, especially if it's multiple offers. I might tell them, just sit on it until, for a bit, because we're going to wait the other offer. And then I'm going to vet them out, call the lender and do all my due diligence. And then we'll have a conversation. 9 times out of 10, by the time we have that conversation, my seller knows everything about the buyers. Why? Because they go on Google.
Yeah.
My buyer just this last week, she's like, okay, so the wife works here, the husband works here. They just relocated from there. And I'm going, how'd you know? They know all the stuff.
And vice versa. The buyers too. My buyers know
everything about the sellers. Yes. So we're in that world where information is plentiful, and it is so easy to type an address into the computer, into the World Wide Webs, to the interwebs, right?
Yep.
And if there is a pending foreclosure, if it's been filed, it's public knowledge. They have to give you public knowledge before they do an auction. You know what I'm saying? And it'll be listed. But okay, so that's my number one. Number two, freaking agent, man. This freaking agent, Jackie Baker. When we are making an offer on a house, what's the first thing we do? We check the backstory. I pull up in the system. I'm like, okay, so where are these people at? How many liens do they have on record?
Yes.
And and is there any foreclosure activity? Every single house I do
tax records, review everything. That's why I'm like, I was beating my head against the wall when I read this. I'm like, how did that go by? How did their agent not tell them? They got them under contract. How could you get
well, that's the other thing. Okay, so this is shame on both agents.
Exactly.
Shame on both agents, because the buyer's agents didn't do their due diligence. The seller's agent, I'm going to call a spade. The seller's agent's an idiot.
Right.
Okay? The seller's agent's an idiot. You don't even do and lazy or something, because I don't mean to be mean, but Jackie, come on. You take the listing and you don't know anything about the listing? Gee, I wonder why the general public doesn't like real estate agents. Come on.
Can I add one more to this? Why the hell didn't the lawyer? Well, no, so here's the thing. Let me step back. I'm gonna bash the lawyer, but the real estate attorney should be aware of it. I'm sure they have a separate attorney that's handling the foreclosure part of it, right? They don't. There could be a different attorney. So why didn't the attorney? The attorney didn't know? The attorney had to know. Don't tell me you didn't know.
Nope.
Don't tell me you didn't know. So why are you hiding that? So now. So the bottom line is, he wants to know, can I still buy this house? It's under contract. Well, not anymore, buddy.
Nope.
Not anymore. And those people
own it.
And the new owners just went in and started ripping the house apart. They're gonna redo it.
There's
So,
nothing they can do.
what this is your classic nightmare because now they're in the 10-day redemption period. That owner has 10 days to buy that back from the bank or
So
whoever bought it.
what is that? 10-day redemption? Is that
10-day
a New Jersey
redemption.
thing?
It's a 10-day redemption. Hold on a minute. Yeah, it's 10-day redemption
Tell me more.
to get the house back. Then the owner was going to get the house back and then turn around and still sell it to this guy. But the
Hmm.
new owners went in and freaking tore it apart. Like I don't. How is this going to happen?
I don't know. It's not
It's
going to.
not. It's
It's not
not.
going to.
No.
The
But
the
what I don't understand, I'm reading through the comments.
mm,
The process in New Jersey is when you have an accepted offer, you have a 3-day attorney review period. Okay. So the attorneys go back and forth with the contract to make their amendments. We'll agree to this closing date. We'll agree to this terms, blah, blah,
yep.
blah. After that 3 days, you're under contract. All right. Sometimes it takes a little bit more than 3 days, but technically it's supposed to be 3 days. How in the hell did you get past attorney review?
So the attorneys review, like, so you're talking during the offer period.
So we submit an offer, seller accepts the offer, contracts go to each attorney, buyer and seller attorneys.
And that's like the first 3 days.
That's 3 days where they do their back and forth over the contract. So what
Hmm.
basically they disapprove the real estate contract. So we submit our contract, right, which is a standard New Jersey real estate contract.
Yep.
They disapprove it and then they rewrite it with their changes to that contract. So they'll take the important parts out of the contract that when we submitted the offer or what the offer was accepted on, take those important parts out, but then they go ahead and make amendments to like the different terms and things like
Gotcha.
that, right?
Gotcha.
So how do we get past attorney review? That's what I was just I'm like I don't understand how that happened.
So you got a whole bunch of group of idiots here.
Yeah, and we're not all idiots here, Jen. We're not.
Oh my goodness. Like, what the heck? This
Isn't that a
is,
good one? Did I do
you
good?
know what this is?
What?
That's what this is. Because there's no way these people are all from the same planet or time
No.
zone or time warp or what. Like, how is this? That's just bonkers.
How did this happen?
Somebody dropped the ball. Either that or we're not getting the full story.
That too.
That's
But
entirely possible.
that's very possible.
Entirely possible that we're not getting all the details on
Yep.
the Reddit story.
It's very possible, but
Because it
it
just
doesn't make sense.
it seems super improbable,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
So
That so many people would have dropped the ball.
yep. So that
Yeah.
was our nightmare. That was
No.
our nightmare.
Or they made it up.
They made it up.
They were bored. They were bored and they're like, let's go on Reddit. Oh, let's do. What would happen?
You
Let's
never
do
know.
this.
But
Okay.
there's
And
like lawyers and stuff commenting on it. So I don't know. I think it's legit. But anyway,
that's
on to
bonkers.
on to the next nightmare. Do you want to hear it, Jen?
Yeah, get something like juicy, legitimate. Like, yeah, 100%. Gosh.
Well, I think this is legitimate. Well, this is from a year ago. This wasn't a recent one, but I had to pull it up because this is a good one. Ready?
Yep.
My home buying nightmare. We found a house in a decent area for $115,000. Where in the hell are you buying a house for $115,000? But anyway, the house is in need of a complete remodel. No flooring, cabinets falling off the walls, strong urine smell, nicotine, stalagmites, the works. Some structural repairs are needed. But the listing stated new roof, furnace, water heater, and windows. We offered $75K, and after ensuing negotiations, we settled at $85,000. 2 weeks later, the seller tried to renege on the agreed to price because she felt she was giving the house away. When in reality, she found out she owed a large sum of money on back taxes.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Inspection time. Inspector finds the roof is in fact not new, nor is the HVAC, which was installed in the late 90s, among numerous other things. But we felt that it was still fair at our agreed to price. Appraisal time. I get a call from my realtor saying the appraisal couldn't be completed due to there being no power and the basement was flooded So we get sent out to go see. 1 foot of water in the basement, and the roof is currently leaking. Reason for the water, the owner shut the power off and the sump pump wasn't able to work.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Now, if I continue, I have to pay for yet another appraisal. The best part, title search returned and found out she isn't the sole owner of the property, and the other 2 owners were not notified of the sale. I am also currently selling my first house, which is contingent of me buying another house, in which buyers had the dumbest inspector to the extent of saying all my bushes were dead and should be removed. It's winter in Ohio. Had to hire a structural engineer because he thought the house was built in 1990 and wasn't built with common building techniques. The house was built in 1901. Okay. Well, if
Holy heck.
the seller decided to back out, is there any civil recourse I could take from time wasted and her not following or agreed to contract? Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think
No.
you just get your deposit back and you move on.
And be on your merry way. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, no. There's nothing you can do. The best thing that you can do, the best possible thing he could have done was run.
Yep.
Get out of there. Don't buy it.
Get out.
Don't just disassociate. This thing's got red flags all over it.
Yep.
Nightmare.
Yep.
No, and no recourse. I mean, you'll get, assuming they had inspection contingencies, they'll get deposit back. You'll be out inspection money, which you're always out anyways. Like you tell buyers, like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole point of the home inspection.
Right.
Is to protect your deposit so that, yes, it's money you can't get back, but you can get your deposit back. So
Exactly.
you're out the home inspection money, you're out the appraisal money. Is it right? No. Totally not right. Do you have recourse? It'll cost you more money to sue them in court, to take them to court, to get your money back on your appraisal and home inspection than it would be to just cut bait and walk away.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's not, that's how we see it here too. So this reminded me of a situation. I may have talked about this before in the podcast. I'm sorry, but several years ago,
yeah, our 2 to 3 listeners don't mind hearing it again.
Okay, well that's okay.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been corrected. We have at least 2. So let's be super like positive.
Yeah.
And say we have 4.
Okay. Maybe we doubled.
That's doubled.
Awesome.
We have 4 listeners. And maybe the other 2 haven't heard your story.
So for the 2 new listeners that haven't heard the story before. So several years ago, and it's 7 years now this happened. Oh my God, I'm getting old. 7 years ago, I was representing a buyer. I was working on a real estate team. It was our team's listing.
Yep.
I was representing the buyer, and oh my God, what a nightmare. First of all, it was an estate, right? So it was to this guy and his sister. No, guy and his brother, right? They're selling his parents' house. Beautiful old house, like it was built in like 1910 craftsman house. Really, it was cool. They renovated. It was gorgeous. So we're chugging along. We were supposed to close in December. My clients were going away for Christmas. They were going to be gone for like 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, no closing date. What the heck's going on? We're not hearing from the title company, not hearing from the attorneys. Nobody's got an answer, like what's going on. So now fast forward, we get into January. Now, meanwhile, we went under contract in October. Okay. So now you're in January. What is going on? Well, come to find out in the title search, and what it was, they had to sign a document. This is what it was. Because it was an estate, right? They weren't sole owners. In order to clear title, each member of the heirs had to sign a document that that they knew about the sale, that they had to agreed to this price, whatever. Yeah, come to find out, there was a sister that was living in Mexico that was never told that brothers were selling the house. And guess what the sister did? She says, "You're not selling it." She then turned around and said, "I'm going to sue you guys." And then a whole other, it was a nightmare.
Isn't it Jerry Springer show? special.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Totally.
swear.
And the guy who we're dealing with, whatever, the power of attorney guy, he was so difficult to work with, just nasty, rude. And then when he got called out that he was trying to sell this house, him and his brother were trying to sell it without telling his sister. Oh my God. He just it was just awful. So PS, fast forward to March. Now we're like about 6 months into this, right?
Yep.
My buyer's like, I'm out. I'm done because they can't get the sister to sign. Now she's suing. He's like, I want out. Now the owner, whatever, the guy, the seller is giving a hard time giving the deposit back. We're like, you can't do that. You can't, the
What?
house cannot be sold. It can't pass title. You have no right to keep that deposit. So he's a little psychotic and he didn't want to let the deposit go.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
Oh yeah. So back and forth, finally got the deposit back. We moved on. And that house sat for like another several months. It finally sold last year. So yeah, 6 years later, they finally sold it. But yeah, so that was fun. That was fun. Yeah, nice. Trying to sell your family home right out from underneath your sister, hoping your sister wouldn't find out.
Those
Right?
balls.
Isn't that great?
What the heck? What are people thinking?
What?
Seriously. Like, so they think that like this is you know, the 80s and there's no internet and oh, they're never gonna find out. Like,
Exactly.
come on.
Come on.
Like, you can't keep like, you don't think that the legal system is designed when you
Yeah.
when you buy and sell properties that there's not, levels of thoroughness
Yeah.
to protect people, to that they check stuff like that?
Exactly.
Give me a
Well,
break.
the funny thing was, so when he was told he had to get this document signed, his sister needed to sign. He's like, well, she's in Mexico. She works for the government and she has to get to the embassy to sign it. I think the truth came out. She never really worked in Mexico. I think he made it up to
Yep.
stall the whole thing.
Or they were probably like, oh, well, once we get to a certain point in the transaction, she won't fight it. She'll just go along because we're so deep into
That's
the
exactly it.
transaction.
But now then she turned around and sued him. Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, so that's
bonkers.
that's my story and I'm sticking with it. Yeah.
That's
That's one I will never forget. Like 6 months of my life was wasted on that deal. That never happened.
No, you know what though, Jackie? That 6 months of your life gave us a podcast story. Just
There you
saying.
go.
So
See?
there was a purpose. There's a silver lining.
Who knew?
And I don't think you've told that story before. I
thought
could be crazy bonkers, my memory, not so
I
great
thought I
sometimes. But I
did.
don't think I've heard that story before.
Or maybe I told it on one of my videos on my
When you're
channel.
another, like, you have, like,
Everything-
another Jackie Baker that,
Yeah.
like, go, like, into a different, like another podcast?
No, it could be on maybe one of my videos I talked about it. This is all blending between my YouTube
Yep.
and podcast. It's just everything's blending. So anyway,
100%. 100%.
so that's my story.
That's your story, and you're sticking
Yes.
to it.
So I think we got time for one more.
Cool.
All right. So this isn't well, it's not really a home buying nightmare, but I just want to put this one out there. I just want to see what you had to say about this. Okay. All right. You ready, Jen?
Yep.
Okay. Just moved in. Neighbors pushing us to put a tree in front of house. Not sure how to address.
Forced tree planting.
Yes. Okay. Recently married and moved into our first home together. We recently got a letter from a neighbor on our street talking about a community beautification project and permission to plant a tree on the sidewalk in front of our house. For context, we live in an urban area, so the sidewalk is not far from our house. We are concerned about the roots and foundation. The neighbors keep reiterating that there will be no cost or maintenance for us, that they just come, remove a cement block, and plant the tree. However, we are concerned about leaves falling into our garden during the fall, blocking light into our house. And again, how would it affect the foundation long term? What is the best way to address this without pissing off our neighbors? It's a small community. It's not like we can just not talk to these people, and we interact with them every day.
Oh boy.
What the hell is that?
Oh man. I don't, how oh boy.
Well,
I feel like you have to I mean, I 100%. So, all right. So my neighbor, who's an awesome neighbor, and he may or may not be listening to this podcast, and it's okay if he is, but he like we live in a corner, and so I've got like 2 neighbors that on either side of my
Right.
backyard, right? So we're pretty close and stuff like that. It's a half-acre lot, but not on top of each other, but, whatever. There's openness, no open air. And he I was out in the backyard. This is like about a month ago, and I was out raking with my daughter, and we were like, "What is that noise?" We'd hear like chirping, and then like a siren, and then chirping, and it wasn't like a one-time thing. It would happen systematically. We're like, "What in the heck is that?" And then over the course of a couple hours, we're like, "I think they put in one of those, like, like an alarm, like a squirrel thing or something like that." And we were the entire afternoon, it was getting more and more annoying. It was just super annoying, right? Because I'm in my
Yeah.
backyard and I'm just like, "Oh, what the heck?" You know what I mean? I didn't wanna, like, I adore my neighbors. And I'm like, "How do I
Yeah.
handle it? How do I handle it?" I'm like, I went back and forth, and finally, I just sent him a nice message, and I'm like, "Oh, ha ha ha, LOL. Your new thing kinda scared us, whatever, whatever." Like, I was just kinda, like, very lighthearted about it,
Yeah.
and I mean, not out of character, he's like, "Oh, we can turn it down." But then I felt bad. I'm like, "Oh, well, then you'll get your squirrels." It's like a deterrent to, like, rabbits and squirrels and stuff.
Really? I never
I
heard of
I
that.
never heard of such a thing,
Never
and
heard of
so
that.
he's like, "No, it's no problem," and then he apparently went back because I haven't heard it again, but I approached it. Now here's the key, like, him and his wife are, like, super reasonable, super nice, super
Mhm.
considerate people, and so I kinda like but I didn't wanna be like, "That thing is driving us nuts, you gotta turn that down," or I didn't approach it aggressively. I was just, like, really just like, "Hey, haha, it's startled us. What is going on over there? Blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
And he got he was like, "Oh, we'll turn it down, whatever." Solve the problem. Um, because I didn't wanna, like, and I kinda came to terms with the fact, I mean, it's a different situation than the tree, but I'm like, I don't wanna it's a tough thing because, it's like, it's my backyard. I don't wanna be miserable out in the backyard, but I also don't wanna,
Mhm.
but it worked out because I had I had he understood.
Right.
This situation, I feel like they either have to have a very real, like, "Hey, we have some serious concerns about this. I understand your concern you're assuring us,
Yeah.
but we're really just not comfortable with it. We're just not comfortable with it." If those neighbors are worth having a good relationship with, they will respect that.
Yes.
And if the neighbors don't respect it, unless it's in an HOA, to hell with them.
Right.
Nope, you're not putting a tree in my front yard. Like, just put your
Exactly.
foot down. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. I
So,
mean,
that's the way I would approach it,
I would
because
too. And and here's the thing, they're probably thinking to themselves, we don't wanna look like jerks, it's a
Or
beautification project,
right,
right? And they're gonna be they don't want people looking at them like, "Oh, they're snobs." They don't want,
right.
they don't wanna beautify the neighborhood. But you got valid concerns. You have very valid concerns. And again, it's blocking light. You gotta worry about the leaves. So who's cleaning up the mess? And I understand they're saying they'll maintain the tree and whatever, what have you. But who's gonna blow the leaves around, clean that up and get it out of their yard
Yep.
and
And
it's
maybe they don't
blocking
wanna look
light.
at the
It's
tree.
blocking light into their, maybe they bought this place because they had, this big window and you get all this light and now you're
Yep.
gonna have a tree blocking it.
And maybe they don't
Yeah,
wanna look at a tree.
right.
Maybe they
You
just
know
don't
what?
wanna look at a tree. That's their prerogative.
Exactly.
It's their property,
Yep.
right? Like I said, unless it's in an HOA that has rules and regulations and it's like, "Oh," but if it's just a general, "Hey, the neighbors are all getting together," or whatever, whatever, um, no,
Yep.
I think the first approach, and I feel like, not to go down a rabbit hole on this, but, like, I feel like that's lost
Mhm.
in the society that we're in now, where
Mhm.
everything has to be a Reddit story. Everything has to be argumentative. Everything has to be friction and conflict,
Yes.
where
Yep.
it really, like, turn back the clock. It was, "Hey, can you guys come over for a cup of coffee? I just want to chat. We just want to chat and like, and
Yes.
just talk to people.
It's such a great point,
Just
Jen.
talk
It's
to
so
people.
true.
And
We've
if you
gotten away from that.
We have, because you know why? Because I feel like I think that a lot of people are they're losing faith in the fact that people will do the right thing. They don't want to leave it to chance. They
And
don't want to be
that's
like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when, back in the day,
yeah.
like, like my parents' days, like our parents' days, like it was like assumed that if you had a very calm, like a very real discussion with someone, like respect and understanding was expected. Like it was kind of like it was the kind of thing like, well, if I have a conversation with them, we'll be able to work it out. Like in general, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
Because people were reasonable, but now I feel like everybody's so guarded. Everybody's expecting the other person to push back.
Yep.
Everybody's expecting to be forced to do something that they don't want to do. So it's like, well, I'm going to be, how do I put up a fight without putting up a fight? It's like, why do you have to put up a fight at all?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. No, you're right. It's just it's a sad
Try to
state of
talk it out.
affairs. No, I think it's a sad state of affairs that's where we are today, that we are guarded. Look, I'm a little guarded, you know what I mean? Like, I
Absolutely.
am. I am, and it's just and it kinda sucks to be that way, you know? It's like I wanna believe that people have, good intentions and they're gonna do the right thing. But you're right.
I have to
People
work at it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I have to
Yep.
constantly work at it, but my intention is to continue, like, working at it, whether it be somebody like, I mean, it's just like, every day, Jackie, driving
Mhm.
down the road and
Yeah.
somebody cuts you off. Well, I don't know about you, but have you unintentionally cut somebody off? Yep. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh god,
It
I
happened, and you weren't paying attention. It happened.
I wasn't
Mistakes
paying attention
happen.
because I'm like, "Oh, I'm thinking about my kids, or I'm thinking about work, or I'm thinking about
Yep.
something else," and I'm like, my head's I got 50 different things, and I don't check twice. It's not intentional, it was an accident,
Exactly.
and I cut somebody off, right?
Yep.
And, so that can happen. So why do I jump to the conclusion that everyone else is doing it intentionally? And I catch myself doing
Yeah.
that when I'm driving down the road. It's like I try to get people now, they stick their hand out the window and give you a little peace sign that's not a peace sign -1.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink.
Yep.
Okay. Then
Yep.
that wasn't intentional, right? You can
Right.
tell the difference.
So,
But
so let me ask you this: do you feel like working in our industry, especially the past 4 years, has made you more guarded? Like, I feel like,
oh, absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
that's made me guarded in everything because I've dealt with such crappy people in this business, especially the past 4 years.
Yep.
And I now when I walk into a situation, I'm like, oh my God. I'm always just like I'm not side, but I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, my people, my clients would be like, oh, but this is great. And they seem so nice. I'm like, yeah, don't get excited. Don't get
No, it's hard. I try to balance it out, like, 'cause I get what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
it's a layered situation because you have people, like, it was so frantic, the pace was so fast over, late 2020 and 2021 into 2022, like, it's just, like, so fast.
Mhm.
Agents weren't doing the things that they should do and due diligence and stuff like that, and you get frustrated with that. And then along with that, a lot of these agents, and we've talked about this, the low barrier of entry to get into this business, and
Yep.
a lot of these agents were coming in thinking they make a quick buck by becoming a real estate agent, and they legitimately did not know what they're doing. So
Mhm.
it's like you're dealing with all this stuff. So I 100% agree with you in the sense that, like, when I was last couple weeks, I've had a couple home seller clients that, we received offers, and I caught myself, like, kind of getting a little bit like, just guarded over these agents, only to have the agents end up being super professional and nice.
Yep. I do.
And
Oh my
I
God,
go
the
through
same way.
I have a couple transactions going on right now, and I actually said to the one of the agents this morning, I'm like, "I just wanna," like, we had the home inspection, the electrical box was discovered, I said, hey, can you send me over the documentation, the pictures? Yep, got them right away. Had a conversation with the seller. Yep, that's totally reasonable. I wouldn't want the buyers to buy it with the electrical risks or anything like that. Got back to the buyer's agent, whatever. It was just smooth and professional and detailed and documented. And I said to her, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for being professional. And this has been a lot easier, and I appreciate what you're doing, and and so forth.
Yep.
And I've said that a couple of times. The last transaction I went through, the buyer's agent was the same way. And it's like, it's refreshing, but for sure, at first my guard was up, because you're like, what are they going to, you don't have to.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean? How are they going to be? Are they going to make my life difficult, or, can I trust them? Can I oh yeah. Yeah. I know. I get my guard up a little too much, but
just got to ask yourself, like, when somebody cuts you off on the highway, like, you take a step, you're like, okay, maybe maybe the guy's wife's going into labor.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean?
True. That's true.
Like, how many times have you been like, holy crap, my kids or whatever, and you're like driving like about a how, because
yeah.
you got to be like to the thing, because something's happening or whatever, and you're like, I'm like trying to just picture myself. Okay, well, maybe they're in the same situation.
Right. Yep. Good point.
Anyways, that's my.
Is that your TED Talk for today?
My TED Talk for today.
Okay.
Everybody just be nice to each other. Is that too much to ask, Jackie?
Just, can we all be kind?
Is that too much to ask for people just to be kind to each other?
Please be kind.
Pretty please.
Oh God, Jen. All right, I covered my stories for the day, and look, it's just over an hour. Good Lord. Here we are.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's just like, all this stuff is just I always feel like I'm like, we get on these podcasts, and I feel like I feel so much lighter.
Yes.
I get all this, like, wow, get it all up. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like our therapy. We said this.
Like a therapy. So for our 4 or 5 listeners,
I'm going to say, our 4 or 5 listeners get to listen to it. And hey, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
For sure. For sure. Well, that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
That's all we got.
So, there we go.
All right.
So thanks everybody for joining in, and we'll just do a little, see if this thing's still playing. See if we got a little music, a little going out music.
A little going out music, little outro.
Yeah. My volume's a little slow on the reaction time. It's my volume's having a menopausal moment here. Menopausal volume control. Hey, it is what it is.
All right, my friend.
Hey, Jackie, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, always a pleasure doing this.
100%. Thank you so much for getting those awesome stories, and thank you so much for listening, everyone. And if you're watching this video, thank you for watching, and join us again next week for a very lively conversation. Yep. Jackie and Jen and Jackie show. We'll be back with another podcast next week.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Be nice to everyone.
Yes, be kind.
Be kind.